All right, let's take a look at the defense now one more time in this early signing day class. Starting at the top, Kelby Collins, a 97.3 rating there for the defensive lineman. You'll hear from Billy Napier in just a second about the thoughts on him. Dijon Johnson back there in the secondary, able to basically flip him from Ohio State. It wasn't an instant flip, but it was kind of Florida to get in on the flip talk there to Dijon Johnson. Remember late July, all the talk of getting him decommitted from Ohio State, and most thought it was going to be an instant flip to Florida. And we had but you had out there the articles that were already written and released that he had flipped to Florida when that wasn't the case. And everybody kind of knew it was just only a matter of time. But Dijon Johnson flipped from Ohio State. And look, one of those, Ohio State's been able to come into the state, of course, and just dominate, especially in South Florida, wide receiver recruiting under Brian Hartline, coming into the state and just picking whatever wide receivers they want. Well, Johnson was a DB they were coming in here to get. Florida's able to basically flip Dijon Johnson away from Ohio State. Jakeem Jackson, you guys know if you listened to the last episode when we were recapping National Signing Day, one of my top players in this class. Very versatile, very fast. I think he's just going to be a playmaker at the defensive back position for the Gators, at cornerback. I'm very, very high on Jakeem Jackson. Miami tried to come in sometime in the fall, get him on campus, try to flip him, but he stays strong with the Gators. Cam James, big defensive lineman. Sean Spencer really, really likes the potential of one Cameron James. Jordan Castell going to come in with that defensive back. And that defensive backfield plays safety there for the Gators. TJ Searcy was that July 4th flip, I believe, or not flip, commit right there, and was able to kind of fend him off from Georgia, the likes of Alabama, Georgia, Auburn. Same with Kelby Collins too. You guys remember talking about him so much. I thought he was going to be an Alabama commit when it was all said and done. But when he was ready to make his decision, the Gators were to pick. Perhaps one of the more important ones because he was the only one Florida brought in as a true defensive tackle was Will Norman. Was supposed to play at IMG, then transferred back up north, played his college ball up north. Hopefully somewhat of impact early on in his career as a defensive tackle. I don't really expect true freshmen to come in and make an instant impact at defensive tackle, but hopefully can make some kind of an impact, maybe even a McClellan level impact next year, and then hopefully take off year after that. But Florida needs some defensive tackle help. They need more defensive tackle help after missing on Walker and Hall, but you were able to get Will Norman in the fold. Sharif Denson, very versatile player there in the defensive backfield for the Gators. Had an interview with him. If you want to go back, search Gators Breakdown into Sharif Denson. There was a one-on-one interview with Sharif Denson back right after he committed to the Gators, so you can listen to that. Local kid where I'm from here in Jacksonville. Billy Napier raved about him as you couldn't go anywhere in the area and talk to high school football coaches without Sharif Denson's name being brought up. Big-time versatile player there in the defensive backfield for the Gators. To see him in that nickel role for the Gators. Aaron Gates is another guy to bring up. Listed as an athlete, but probably going to play safety for the Gators as well. Billy Napier, we kind of knew that, but Billy Napier mentioned that in his press conference on Aaron Gates. Looking at him as a safety there, along with Bryce Thornton, another safety from the state of Georgia. Most people think he's one of the more like him and Andy Jean, more of the underrated players in the class. And I know that happens a lot. There will be guys who outplay their ratings and guys who don't live up to their ratings. And two that are being pegged as outplaying their ratings are Bryce Thornton and Andy Jean. So remember that. Keep an eye on those. There are a lot of people pegging those guys as the three stars that will outplay their rankings, their ratings. And then the only linebacker the Gators brought in, Jaden Robinson from Lake City, right outside of here in Jacksonville. Not far from Gainesville either. Gators missing on some linebackers in the class. Pup Howard, Lewis Carter, Malik Bryant, Robinson in the class. So Billy Napier mentioned it in his press conference. I don't know if you guys missed this date, but he scored a touchdown on defense in 7 straight games this past season. So Jaden Robinson, a playmaker at the linebacker spot, and would not be surprised if he's hot and heavy in the reps in spring practice. Six foot, 221. Looking for him to be that sideline to sideline linebacker. Average rating of 92.29. Surprisingly, the offense had a higher average rating of 92.41. But that's kind of where it is, of course, when you look at the Gators. And we knew their rating was, that 92 rating. The average of 92.34 was fifth highest in the country. 92.41 on offense and 92.29 on the defense. So just like we heard from Billy Napier and the top player in the class, Jaden Rashada, well, let's hear from Billy Napier and the top defensive prospect in the class, Kelby Collins.
Some really unique players when you look at this group. Kelby being, I think, one of the, you just turn the tape on, one of the more polished, ready-to-play players in the country, just fundamentally advanced, 6'4", 260 pounds, and really a violent player, plays with effort. He's comes from an unbelievable family, just his mom and dad, their character, their competitors. He's been raised. That might have been the cleanest house I've ever been in, okay? I think sometimes that's an indicator of things, but Kelby's mom and dad, got a younger brother, his grandma. I mean, they're just awesome, salt of the earth. And he's a reflection of them, and certainly he's a leader. He's been a leader in this class, and certainly he's going to be here in January, and a guy that I think is in prime position to be a difference maker. So he's got some leadership traits, and he's a hard worker and a guy that I think is, it's a big deal for him to be a Gator.
All right, big deal there for Kelby Collins to be a Gator. As I said, that was one I was writing off most of the time. It was like, Florida. That was a Florida-Alabama battle, and that was one. Don't get me wrong, Alabama was able to rebound, quote unquote rebound. We knew they were probably going to get theirs, and of course the defensive lineman combo of Quay Rusall and Smith there were able to the 2 5-stars from in-state Alabama end up going to Alabama. So it's not like it really hurt Alabama not too much to not get Kelby Collins, but that was one Florida just needed to get for their class, make their class better, and was able to pull him there back in the summertime.
Want more Gators Breakdown? Join Gators Breakdown Plus. Starting at $3 a month, get access to unique episodes, plus a blog, chat room, giveaways, shout-outs, and more. Gators Breakdown Plus is furthering the interaction with fans and listeners like you. Head to gatorsbreakdown.supportingcast.fm to join Gators Breakdown Plus today.